Hello, everyone. Welcome to People on Dating. I'm your host, Will Morales. And on today's show, I have Tony Rodrigues. Tony is a certified high performance strategist. Tony has invested and been involved in personal development and high performance development for over 20 years. He first started his own journey in self development and is devoted to helping many others succeed and achieve the same. Tony has helped thousands of people experience transformation in all aspects of their lives. Also, Tony worked with Tony Robbins, which we'll get into in a second or two. So for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, this is called People on Dating. It's a topic-based conversation about the ups and downs of courtship. Whether you're 18 to 80, you have a story to tell. And the gist of this podcast is just a conversation, no judgment. So having said that, Tony, thank you so much for being on People on Dating. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
No, it's my pleasure. And today's topic is a good one. It's the mind of a narcissist. So, Tony, first of all, talk about yourself a little bit. Tell us how you got involved with Tony Robbins, is one of my heroes, same as Jim Rohn. You know, Tony studied under him years ago. How did you get involved with that?
Well, I mean, so how did I get involved with that? My first experience with Tony Robbins, I was probably 24 years old. I did a one-day event in New York City where he was just a speaker, one of like 3 or 4 speakers. I think it was actually him, Donald Trump, and somebody else way back in the day, 24, 25, actually about 26 years ago.
Okay.
And that was my first exposure to him. But I was a 24-year-old kid. I, didn't have a whole lot going on. I was just, kind of getting my business going. And then I didn't come back to Tony Robbins till I was 28. And when I was 28, I went to my first event as a participant at UPW, the Unleash the Power Within, the Firewalk, which everybody hears about. And it was a fascinating event. I thought, man, this was, what else? There's so much information, so much to unpack. And at the end of the event and throughout the event, they were trying to sell the next level of event. I'm thinking to myself, there's nothing else. And you give me the keys to the vault. I've got. I've been trying to drink from this fire hose for the last 3 or 4 days. I've got to go back and process. I did that. And I actually went back 3 times to that same event because I guess I'm a slow learner, but it takes time to process. And every time you go back to an event, every time I go back to an event, even now, after having done dozens and dozens of events, every time I go, I pick up something new, even though I go there now as a trainer to help people through the event. I still pick up something new just because we're always different people when we're going through life's events. Just like you can watch a movie, and then watch it again and you're in one mood, you watch it again next month, you're in a better mood or worse mood, and you're going to find a different meaning and subtext to the story. It's the same thing about personal development and going to these events. That's why so many people go so many times. So I went to answer the short question. I feel like I'm going a little long here.
No, you're good.
I went for the first time to help myself, to get my head together, to work on me, to work through some of the problems and challenges and my mental blocks and belief systems that I was stuck in, and the patterns that I was running. So I went back for a couple of years as a participant. I did all of his programs, and then I started crewing the events and helping people through it because there's a massive amount of people that participate in these events. And then eventually I went through the leadership program, and then they made me a trainer a few years ago. So I've now been a trainer with Tony for probably going on 6 years now. And just have had the opportunity to help thousands and thousands of people go through the event and have the breakthroughs and deal with some of the most terrible things that you can think of, and helping them walk on fire, all of these things. So it's been an exciting ride. I'm still the trainer with Tony. I still do a couple of events a year with him, but I am also I've got my own platform as well called Get Up and Grow, as you see in my name here, where I help people grow through what they go through, right? Because we all go through life. We all fall. We all make mistakes. Most people just get up and go. Right? They get up and go about their life. But that's not enough, because until you grow through what you go through, you keep going through it. Right? So you have to learn the lesson that life is trying to teach you. So the Get Up and Grow, it's everybody gets up, falls. But when you get up, you have an opportunity to learn. And when you fall, you have an opportunity to learn. When you get up, you have an opportunity to grow. So every time you fall, you do have the opportunity to get up and grow, so you can get to the next level of whatever life is for you in a relationship, business, your mindset, spirituality, whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and that's fascinating because I remember I had seen it was on TV not too long ago, and I think there's a picture of you which I'll put on the show notes with Tony, and I think there was a Netflix
Yeah, the
yeah,
document.
the documentary I'm Not Your Guru, and I was watching. I thought it was very fascinating how Tony delves into a lot of things about people's perspective, and you hit it. It's all in the mindset. It's all how you feel. It's all how you feel about yourself, and taking risk, and just um not being afraid to do certain things like I was, listening to him, listening to Jim Rohn. I listen to these guys all the time, and it just makes me realize, I'm like, shoot, I'm shooting myself in the foot. I'm telling my own story that's not true. And so segue into that is
Well,
the
yeah, listen,
yeah, go
to
ahead.
put some words to that is that the words you use become the house you live in,
Yeah, wow.
right? Because if you can speak your future into exist, you can speak your life into existence. Most people don't speak kindly to themselves,
Mm,
right? They don't speak kindly to themselves. They look in the mirror, they see another wrinkle, another gray hair, pimple, or whatever.
yeah.
You look like crap. We are our own worst enemy, our own best friend, right? Oftentimes, we're our own worst enemy more than anything else. So, the words we speak matter, right? Especially the words we speak to ourselves. So, and the stories we tell ourselves, because you are not your past. The past,
Right.
as a matter of fact, your past was a bruise, not a tattoo,
Right,
right?
right,
So
right,
you
right,
don't have
right.
to wear the mistakes of the past, because guess what? You are not your past, and unless you choose to live there. And the reality is, you can't really live in the past,
Right.
right? Because there's no amount of anxiety that there's no amount of regret that can change the past, no amount of anxiety that can change the future. There is only now, right? So it's what you're doing now that really matters, because the tomorrow that you're going to live is going to be based on the decisions you make today, the decisions that you take, the actions that you take, the affirmations that you make, the relationships that you're in, that you do today. Tomorrow is all going to depend on that.
Right.
The personal development space is all really about that. It's about getting clarity on who you are, why you do, say, act, and react the way you do. Because when you do that, when you can recognize that, then you can see it in other people. And then having those relationships are that much more important, because the most important relationship in your life is the relationship with the person that's looking back in the mirror, because that's the person that's going to change your life. And until you get right with that person, it's going to be hard for you to get into a really good, deep relationship, the relationship you really want. And I guess, to segue into what we're going to be talking about is
Right.
this: you could only experience love as deeply as you've loved yourself.
Mm,
So it
that's
doesn't
deep. Yeah.
matter. There's so many people that are like, I'm not getting enough from them. I don't feel the love. Well, that's because perhaps that love isn't reaching as deep as you'd like, because you don't love yourself any deeper than where that love gets.
Mm, that's
So,
wow.
so the first thing to do in any relationship, before getting into a relationship, is fall in love with the person looking back in the mirror. Fall in love with you. That means forgiving yourself for your mistakes of the past. The past is heavy. Put that shit down,
Yeah.
because you can't move forward if you're hanging on. You can't possibly swim across the river if you're holding on to two bags of crap from your prior life, from your prior relationship. So you got to let that shit go. And the way you let that go is you forgive. Because
Yeah.
sometimes those bags you're carrying, you can't let go, because maybe they're your family, they're your kids. You can't leave them on the other side of the river. You got to bring them with you. Cool. You could. But the way out is through. The way to the other side is to forgive and let go of the mistakes of the past. Forgive the people who hurt you. More importantly, forgive the person looking back in the mirror, and accept who you are right now in the moment, and know that you can improve yourself, and that you are deserving of love, and that you are worthy. Because you can't, here's the other thing, you can't truly love yourself if you hate any part of what it took to create you.
Right. Wow. So segue into that, right? Today's topic is the mind of a narcissist. One of the things, Tony, which I definitely I love what you said, forgive yourself, love yourself, having clarity, letting go of the past. Cause I'm one of those guys that sometimes even though I don't need closure, but I do think about some past mistakes I made. And then I realize, okay, you know what? I need to let go. But for some people that might not be able to let go, whether it's a relationship that they might have gone through maybe a few months ago, can you talk about like one or two steps of, if that's possible, of how you can let go? How can you move forward? If, like you said, you got to love yourself first,
Yeah.
but what would be like the next step after that? Once you
So
realize you love, now I'm good to go, I look great, I'm this, I'm that, what would be the next step?
well, so it's funny. I wasn't planning on having this talk, and I started before about the whole get up and grow. And I'm not going to get into the whole story, but
Mm,
let's just say that I didn't find the name. The name found me. I was helping somebody through a challenge, and he called me. He's like, "How are you so positive?" Because I was going through some difficult business partnership breakup, and a lot of just real bad as it gets, as a matter of fact, to the tune of lots of zeros.
yeah,
Uh,
I've been there.
yeah, lots of zeros, more than I even care to
Yeah.
mention. Um, but he said, what happened and how are you so positive? And I told him, I said, look, it's a daily practice of gratitude and a morning routine that involves gratitude and forgiveness and letting go. Not that you got to forgive all the time, but the process of forgiveness is super important. But gratitude and positive affirmations and incantations and forward and looking into your future and seeing your future brighter than it is now. Because a lot of people get into depression and sadness because they can't see their future better than what it is. That's why people are suicidal and sad, and they can't get out of their own way because they can't see the future any brighter than it is. So I was having this conversation with a friend of mine, and again, I'm more spiritual than I am religious, but for whatever reason, this came to mind, and I was in pain, and there was challenge, and there was pain, and God said grow, and I said no.
Mm,
God said grow, and I said no, and I must have repeated that a couple dozen times, and there's a term that says what you resist persists, right?
wow,
So
yes.
at times, there's moments in our life that we're getting pain, whether it be physical pain, emotional pain, mental pain, whatever it is. And we have that pain because perhaps the universe or God is saying, grow. You need to grow through this. And until you grow through it, you're going to keep going through it. You're going to keep feeling the pain until you grow through it. And the way to grow through it is acknowledge it, deal with it if you can, forgive and let go. And that's where a lot of the magic comes from, is to let go of the past. It has to do with forgiveness of the person that hurt you, the situation, forgiveness of yourself, and forgiveness, yeah, even forgiving God, because oftentimes, whether you believe in God or the universe, whatever it is, forgive whatever you think, because whenever something happens, the first thing that people say, why me, God, why?
Right, right.
So you're blaming, right? So there's a process to forgiveness, and there's a whole, you can your listeners can look it up. It's called the Ho'oponopono. It's an ancient Hawaiian spiritual prayer of forgiveness. It's not really a prayer as much as it is an incantation, but they can look it up. As a matter of fact, you can type in Tony Robbins Ho'oponopono on YouTube, and you'll actually see the video of him going through it. It's about 10 minutes, and it's really powerful. It's a powerful exercise. And I keep going back to that because forgiveness is such a huge part of letting go of who you were in the past so you can step into who you are in the future. Because if you step into a new relationship, right, with the old habits or the old thought patterns of what that person was and who they did, what they did, you step in already with some anticipation instead of saying, man, I'm so excited to have this date tonight. This guy's amazing. This woman's amazing. You step into and says, man, I hope they're not as much of a jerk as the last one I dated.
Wow.
So you have this presupposition as well, where you want the date to go well, but in the back of your mind saying, man, I hope he doesn't suck. Hopes he doesn't suck. I hope, they're a good, you know what I mean? It's,
Yeah.
you kind of walk into that kind of 1 foot back. And while we should always be cautious, because you can't just jump in willy-nilly, as we're speaking of before we started this, you've got to be smart, but at the same time, you've got to go into it with an open mind. The only way to do it is letting go of the past, so you can step into the future in the light and not carry all the darkness with you.
Right. So, again, let's segue into the mind of a
The
narcissist, right?
narcissist.
Yeah. So what are some signs, because I realized I might have gone on with a couple of women that were narcissists, when I looked up the term and then when I started reading upon it, and then you had the show on LinkedIn, which I'll put on the show notes so people could look at it also. What are we looking for when we meet with someone and, we start seeing a different pattern than what we saw at the beginning, where we said, man, this person is very cool and everything, but then all of a sudden now there's a little change here and there. So the mind of a narcissist, what are we looking for at the beginning, or whether it's through the relationship, 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, a year? If my question made any sense.
Sure. So first of all, I can't give you the exact definition of a narcissist right now because
Sure.
I don't want I don't want to misspeak, but I'll just say that a true narcissist is diagnosed by a medical professional. They actually have a chemical imbalance or something literally missing in their brain, that they don't have empathy, right? They're kind of emotionless. And there's some people that are like that. Serial killers are like that. There's certain
Yeah.
people that are like that. So majority of people aren't diagnosed, right? Whether they're a true narcissist or not. If they're a true narcissist, there's no way they're getting diagnosed unless they get locked up for something and they're getting tested by in the psychiatric ward or however it gets done. Most people may not be narcissists. Some are narcissists, but some have narcissistic tendencies or narcissistic behaviors, which many of those are
Okay.
learned, right? They're learned because of how we're brought up. What was the relationship that your mother and father had? What was the relationship that you had with your parents and that your parents had with your grandparents, or that they had together? So a lot of narcissism is a learned behavior, and it's in some cases it's a protection mechanism, because I'm going to keep you under my foot, because if I keep you under my foot, that means you can't get me under yours, right?
Mm,
So in other words, it's like if I can oppress you, then I protect myself from being oppressed by you,
right.
is one way. So oftentimes so a narcissist is the way I understand, and the way it is, at least in my definition, interpretation of it. Everyone can read into it and think what they will, and they may say, no, Tony, that's not it. Okay, you're right. I'm not going to fight you. Is that a narcissist is someone that always blames someone else for their problems. And unfortunately, we live in a society today, that everything and everyone around is a victim. And that's being propagated by our government, that's being propagated by our educational system, by our welfare system, by the judicial system, by attorneys. Oh, you got hurt, somebody else's fault, let's sue. So we live in a victim society. So that is lending itself a lot to the expansion of narcissism, right? Where it's always someone else's fault. I got fired. Why? Because my boss is a jerk. Well, maybe. So what happened? Well, maybe you got to work late again. Maybe you did the wrong thing again. Maybe you're screwing her off at work. And you say that he's a jerk because he fired you. No, maybe he fired you for just cause, but yet it's not your fault. It's your boss's fault.
Right.
Right? You get pulled over by a cop, you get a ticket, your day's ruined because the cop's an ass. Well, no, maybe you were speeding, right? Maybe you did something wrong, but it's the thing of blaming everyone else and lying, blatant lying. A lot of narcissists lie. They don't just tell a simple lie. They're pathological in many cases, because they weave so many details that are unnecessary. Somebody's ever telling you a story and they're telling you weird ass, that's already kind of, you're like on the fence whether you believe it or not, and they give you crazy details for no reason. You might want to consider. Certainly you can ask them a question about it later. Chances are they won't remember that they told you that they were wearing a red shirt with the blue jeans or whatever it is. But when somebody gets into the minutia of it, usually they're not a great storyteller. They're a great story weaver. So,
Wow.
and there's so much more to talk about that. And we can even talk about how you can recognize when somebody's lying to you. A little body language tip that I can give you at
Yeah,
the
yeah,
end.
no, please. No, if you want to get into it, no. So
So
what I'm sorry, Tony, I wanted to get this out. So basically, when we see a narcissist, or we start recognizing this, because they're passing the blame, they never take responsibility. Do they even apologize at all, or that's not even in
no,
their vocabulary?
they don't until they're caught, and then maybe they'll apologize, and they'll
Right,
apologize profusely, only to do it again later.
right.
So one of the patterns that you can almost recognize pretty quickly, and at least this is not something that I came up with, this is an article that I read, stories that I've seen, is that there's something called love bombing.
Yeah,
That when you
what's that? Yeah.
love bombing is they're giving you so much attention, it's kind of over the top. They're like, oh my God, they want you to meet their mother, like the first time you meet, like, oh my God, you're so great. You're the most amazing man. You're the most amazing woman. I can see myself with you long term. Matter of fact, I'd love you to meet my mom. And you're like, wait a minute, what? We met like 10 minutes ago. Right.
Right.
So love on me. And then the next time you get together, they don't just give you a gift, they give you opulent gifts, because they're just going over the top to be like, they're just love bombing you, right? They're telling you how great you are all the time. And it feels good in the beginning. You're like, wow, that's awesome. I'm really special. Look, he got me a freaking iPhone, a brand new iPhone. I didn't even ask. I had an iPhone. I didn't need one. He got me an iPhone. He got me this. He got me jewelry. Very early on in the relationship, it could be something to pay attention to be cautious about, especially if they're not independently wealthy, right? So it's called love bombing. So it's one of the things that you can look out for. But really, it's the person that it's everybody else's fault. It's always your fault. As a matter of fact, when you're in a relationship with them, inevitably that love bombing turns to, it's your fault. What did you do wrong? And they start making you feel like crap. Even if they did something, they make you feel guilty about what they did because you called them on it or whatever it is. And they're the victim. They play victim all of the time. Right. And the relationship, when there's love bombing in the beginning, it does not continue. It usually tends to go downward.
Is that so is the love bombing a short-term thing that we should look out for?
Yeah, it usually is. It's like the honeymoon phase of any relationship, right?
Yeah.
And then that will inevitably change. Look, there could be some circumstances that is not the case, and they don't change. Or more often than not, they do. But that narcissist is the person that always blames somebody else. They're the victim. They're always complaining about something, and it's never their fault. That's probably the biggest thing. But bigger than it's not their fault, they make it your fault. And they make you feel guilty for thinking about something that they're doing. I mean, I had somebody that did that in my life, and I'm like, wow, this is, kind of almost too good to be true.
Yeah.
When something's too good to be true, I hate to be a skeptic.
But it usually is, right?
When something is too good to be true, it usuly is. So just clarify and verify. Yeah. That's all I say. Clarify and verify. Make sure, ask around. By the way, the other thing a narcissist will do is they will try to take up all of your time. They will try to pull you away from your family, your friends. They will try to isolate you, so they are the number one person in their life. And then they make you feel that if they're not there, you're nothing. You're worthless. You'll never survive. You'll never make it. Everybody freaking hates you. I'm your only option. Is ultimately where this ultimately gets to. Wow. That might not happen in the first couple of weeks, but I guarantee you're with them for a couple of years. That's exactly what it is. And the person feels trapped. And now they've been isolated and pulled away from the people that they love and that love them. So their support system is gone, which is exactly what the narcissist is doing. Right.
Yeah.
And it's not like they have a game plan, not like they got the book. This is just what they do. Right. And so they basically isolate you. So they remove your support system. So that way, when there is a problem, when there is a fight, maybe there is a physical altercation, you feel like you have no one to go to. You're too embarrassed to go to them because you turned your back on them because he made you choose him over them, her over them.
Right. So should we even learn maybe about the term? Is there another term, Tony, that they call, is it called gaslighting, where they make you feel, like I said, they pass everything on to you, or they blame you for things that, you realize like, wait a minute, I don't remember doing that. Oh no, yes, you did. So yeah, so go ahead, touch base on that.
The gaslighting is they'll say something one day, right? And then the next day, maybe they realize they screwed up and they'll say, I never said that. What are you talking about? We just, not to get into politics, we were just gaslit last week.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Literally, they'll turn around, they'll say one thing today and have full conviction. And then the next morning, they'll be like, no, I never said that. That's not what I meant. Come on, that's not what I meant. Actually, it is. But now you're trying to backpedal because you realize you went too far. So you backpedal a little bit. But the minute you have an opportunity, you hit the gas again. Yeah. Right? Because it's all, by the way, in a narcissist, it's all about them. It's all about me. Right. I'm a narcissist. It's all about me. I don't care. My need for significance is so great. I have to be the center of attention.
Yeah. And go ahead, Tom. I'm sorry. So you say the center of attention?
Yeah. A narcissist can be the person at times it could be the hypochondriac could be a narcissist. right? Because they always got to be secrets. That one upper. Oh, you think you had it bad? Me too. Oh, you think your story was bad? Let me tell you mine. You broke one leg. Crap, I broke two. Same time, right? So
Yeah.
again, there's a little bit of everything. I don't know that there's a clear cut. Here's the 10 top. There are obviously things that you can look at. And I listed a bunch of them just now.
Right. Yes, you did.
But
Yeah.
there's no steadfast. Here's the list of 10, because maybe somebody's only got 5, and then they got 10 through 15, and you don't know what the 10 through 15 is, or 15 through 20. So there's a
Right.
lot of different things. Just listen, in the dating world, it's a crazy world out there, as we were saying before. And in the world of social media, and everybody's highlight reels, and everybody looks, incredible until they go home. And I saw a video the other day. The guy comes home and he starts to pull stuff, and his chin comes off, like a little bit of the chin. His nose completely different. So it's not just women that are doing it; guys are doing that now too.
Wow.
But there's so much that goes into dating these days, and online dating and everything else. I would just tell everybody, be careful. Make sure that you're asking enough questions, because the reality is this: most people spend more time and effort and resources to hire a cleaning lady, a dog walker, a secretary, than they do the person that they're going to be dating and maybe spending the rest of their life with.
Right.
Because
Right.
they met them by coincidence. They happened to be at the bar. They bumped into each other. They look, hey, you're kind of cute. Hey, you too. You want to have a drink? Sure. Before you know it, you know, the rest is history,
Right.
right?
Right.
But yet you don't really know that person. So it's important to get to know people. Again, verify as much as you can. Who are their friends? Meet some people before you go too far down the road. See if you can meet some of the friends. Have them meet some of your friends. See how that relationship goes. Eventually, at some point, if it's getting serious, meet the people that are closest to them, their family, their siblings. Meet other people and see what that interaction looks like. They say you can tell a lot about a man by the way he treats his mother, by the way he treats the person serving them coffee, by the way he
Right.
treats the Uber driver, and the same thing about her. Flip the shoe, put the shoe on the other foot. Same thing. How does she treat the people that are closest to her? How does she treat the person at the counter? Right. Pay
Yeah.
attention to those little things, because the little things matter. The little things are the big things.
Right. Yeah. Because then you get to see the person in action. You get to see how they interact with people. And the thing is, Tony, that you touch base on a few things, right? Uh, you know, uh, about no empathy. Narcissists learn. They blame someone else. Love bombing. I love that. Like you said, you got to verify, clarify. I love that. We talked about gaslighting. And I think, Tony, that I realized that on a few occasions, I've gone out with a woman that I realized that some of the things you talked about definitely um, no empathy, never apologize, would always come up with excuses. And I didn't know this at the time until maybe a year or two later when I started hearing more about this term narcissism. And I didn't realize, Tony, that I'm like, shit, I was like right involved in that. And I let it go because I really cared about her. But then I got to admit, I became soft in the relationship, because I really care about this woman, but the feeling was not mutual. I never saw it. She talked a good game, but in terms of actual doing anything, showing any type of physicality, whether it's touching or whatever, any type, none of that shit I saw.
Yeah.
So it took a while, but I started little by little. I just started realizing it. I pulled back, I pulled back, and I was able to let go. But it took a while. But again, I didn't see the signs at the beginning. I saw it near the end of the relationship. But then at least I know what the hell I'm looking for now, because again, that was right in front of my face at the time. But because I was blinded the way I feel about her, shoot, man.
Well, they
I
say
felt
love.
like a fool. Yeah, love. I know you say love is blind.
They say love is blind, and that's what they mean is you don't see the faults in people
Yeah.
because of the emotions that you have for them. Trust me, I've gotten hurt. Like even that business relationship that I had, was with somebody that I'd known for 35 years, and I love that person. Not in a romantic way, but
Right.
I love that person, so I didn't see what was happening. So love is definitely blind. So you just got to make sure that you look out for the signs, right? How are they
Right.
treating you? Are they being reciprocal? Here's
Mm.
a good one I'm going to tell you. When you ask somebody a question, now this is true for probably for 90, 95% of the population. Now, there's some people that are more right brain than left brain, and that could kind of alter things. But for the most part, this was taught to me by a dear friend of mine who's a body language expert that trains the FBI and
Right.
attorneys and jurors and all kinds of stuff for court. Is when you ask somebody a question and they look up and to the left, they're looking kind of like into their memory, like they're looking into the past, say, wait, let me try to see if I
Mm.
remember that. But if they look up and to the right, that's your creative side, and they're making up a story.
Wow.
Same
Okay.
thing. If they're that's if they're visual. If they're auditory, they may look down and to the left, like, what was it that was said that day? What did I hear? As opposed to they look down and to the right. Now, again, looking at the creative side is what am I going to make believe or say that I know or that I heard or that I remember?
Yeah.
So left,
Wow.
right, when you're asking a question, visual or auditory, you're going to do that. Or if somebody's speaking to you and they're speaking to you and they're just kind of twitching their nose, opening their mouth, they're
Yeah.
talking, they're going like this a lot.
Yeah.
It's like, remember when you were kids, if you said something you shouldn't have, first thing you're like,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
but
Yes.
you
Yes.
can't
Yes.
take the words back. So
Yeah.
that's the psychological trigger that like people are talking to, they're covering their mouth. It's their subconscious saying, shut up. I'm ashamed of what you're saying. Stop it.
Wow.
So
Okay.
if somebody's talking to you, and they're covering their mouth or they're twitching their nose or they're messing with their ear. They're just trying to take defer your attention from what they're saying to maybe something else that you're doing.
Right.
So
Wow.
yeah,
Okay. No, that's okay. That's good to know. That's
yeah,
amazing.
those will save your butt in a relationship or in a what do you call it, a speed dating situation. What are they
Yeah.
saying? If they're talking with their mouth,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
they're probably not being truthful.
No, that's good. That's good to know. That's
I
good
know
to
you
know.
didn't expect that one today.
No, that one caught me out of left field. First of all, Tony, I appreciate you being on People on Dating. I really appreciate it. Is there anything that I might have forgotten to touch base on?
I will say one thing, and I don't know how much longer we've got because I wasn't paying attention to the clock. But in any relationship, heterosexual, homosexual, whatever it is, there is a masculine and feminine energy.
Right.
And the masculine and feminine energy, opposites attract, right? So you have that chemistry, you have that physical attractiveness of masculine and feminine. And you have that, like I said, in both homosexual and heterosexual relationships. So
Mhm.
you've got to make sure that the person that you're with uh, understands that you understand where you are, because maybe you're a masculine man. Awesome. Maybe you're a feminine man. Awesome. That's okay too. We've all have feminine energy inside of us, right?
Right.
Otherwise, my hair wouldn't be combed, that wouldn't be shaved, that wouldn't be matching. I'd be a hot freaking mess, right?
Right. Right. Right.
Men are just, but because of that feminine energy and because that feminine, connection that we have, we do, take care of ourselves. You're taking care of your kids or whatever else. That's that feminine energy coming out. And we have masculine energy. Women have it as well. They have masculine energy. They have feminine energy. Their strength and their power lies in their feminine energy. And oftentimes women misunderstand that. They think that there's more power in the masculine energy when they show up with masculine power, and that they actually have less power than they think they do, because a masculine man will do more for a feminine woman than they will for a masculine woman,
Yeah, I agree there. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Uh, so understanding that if you are a masculine woman, but you're feminine on the inside, you like the girly things and you're a girl, but at work in today's society, women out in the workforce have to tap into that masculine energy so they can command presence, so they can do things. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. There's nothing wrong with having masculine or feminine energy, nothing wrong with it at all. Just understanding who you are, where you are, because if you're a masculine man, you're going to need a feminine woman, even if that woman is masculine in her task, in her job, in her business, in her company, whatever she's doing, and she's a feminine woman at home. That's great, because if it's two masculine, positive are going to butt heads, and it's
Yeah, it's gonna be
really
a clash.
ultimately
Yeah.
going to be difficult. Same thing with the feminine energy. If you're a feminine woman and you want a masculine man and you get him, you have this masculine man and he rides motorcycles and he jumps off freaking mountains and skydives and he goes out hunting and everything else, and you get married and you tell your girlfriends, yeah, no, that's just going to change. That motorcycle, say goodbye. Hunting, yeah, not so much, honey. Listen, you're married now. You got to stop that skydiving bullshit because, you've got responsibilities.
Right.
And because the man loves her, he will change. Difference is we should all bend so that we can, because relationships are a dance. But when you break, you've got to be careful. If you bend so far that you break and you're no longer who you are, man or female or woman, by the way, and you're doing that, like as an example, you're doing that for a woman, so you completely succumb to what she wants, and she's still not happy because now she's not going to be happy because she married a masculine man. She loved you and that energy.
Right.
Now you just don't seem to have that energy. That spark isn't there anymore. Of course it's not, because she killed it. And now she might begin to resent the fact that he's no longer masculine. He may be masculine at work, but at home he's not masculine. And I'm glad that this is a podcast, because there's going to be people that can relate to this, but they don't have to admit it out loud.
Right.
But now they're no longer feeling masculine at home. She's superior, so now she's become the masculine at home. He's become the feminine, or she's still feminine, but now he's a feminist. So they lose the polarity. And so they lose the attractiveness. And if that happens, the man really begins to resent it, because now he gave up who he was for you and you're still not happy. And then that's how relationships tend to fall apart. So Just remember that in a relationship, bend, don't break.
Right.
Because if somebody wants you to break everything who you are, then you got to ask yourself, what the heck did they see in me in the first place? Because when you do change so much that you yourself forget who you are, you begin to be resentful, and the relationship starts to wane at that point anyway. So bend, don't break. Remember, relationships are a dance, and we need to mold to each other, right? But molding doesn't mean breaking. So, and just remember to love yourself first. And
that's the biggest thing.
Have enough love for yourself and have enough respect for yourself to leave the table when respect is no longer being served.
Yeah. I think that's easier said than done, but I agree with you, Tony, because I've been there and it took a while, but I was able to leave on my own terms. But again, it took a while, and I really agree with you there, because I think some couples stay, or at least one or the other stay a little too longer. And like you said, they start resenting them. They start looking for something outside of their relationship, and shit happens.
And by the way, I'll just say this, William.
Yeah.
I am all about fighting for a relationship. I hate this disposable society we live in. I'm happily married for 20 years, just celebrated my 20th anniversary last week.
And congratulations. Yes.
Thank you, for 26 years. So I'm all about, and listen, it doesn't come, great relationships don't come just out of the blue, and it's just this weird thing that happens. Relationships come and the power in a relationship. And I'm just going to read something, because I don't want to, I don't want to misquote, because this is something I shared the other day, and it's powerful. It's powerful. And the line is, relationships don't last because of good times. They last because the hard times that were handled with love, caring, and respect. Right. So I am not about, it's not working out, screw it, I'm out, you're out, F you, and you're gone. It's not about that. It's about trying to make things work. But the most important thing is, at the beginning, understanding who each other is. Show them your dirty laundry. Show them you open up that closet. Show them the skeletons if they're cool with it. It's not about finding someone that doesn't have baggage. After a certain age, we all have baggage, right?
Yeah.
It's about finding someone that's going to help you unpack your bags, not somebody who's going to criticize what's in your bags.
Yeah.
Right. So it's knowing the person, knowing as much about the person up front as possible. And then if you love each other, then fight for what you want. Don't tuck and run. Yet it comes to a point that you may have to leave. One thing that, I always said, I'd rather be happily divorced than unhappily married.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people in bad relationships that stay too long. Oh, we stayed for the kids. Right. Except now the kids have the worst possible example of what a loving relationship should be. Oh, my parents, they barely talk. They fight all the time. They sleep in different rooms. I can't remember the last time my father kissed my mother. So now as a young woman growing up, you think that is what a relationship should look like. And as a young man, you think that's what a relationship should look like. So we tend to screw kids up more by trying to stay together for the kids than if we had left and lived happily apart than miserably together.
Wow.
Right. So again, this is a conversation that can take another half hour, an hour. So I don't
Probably,
do
yeah,
that to you, but
definitely.
I'm just putting these things on the table so that people can get a taste of what some of the things are that we speak about. So where you saw us, of course, was on LinkedIn. We
Yeah.
also stream, if you hashtag, like my name says, hashtag get up and grow. You'll just find a bunch of videos that I've done. You'll find my YouTube channel where we do stream the videos as well every Friday at 9 o'clock. And again, at 11, we stream live. You can go back and listen to the replays. You can find me on Instagram as well, Tony Rodrigues with an S 2.0. If you just type in Get Up and Grow, you'll be able to find me there as well. And same thing on Facebook. I'm always trying to share videos and content and information that is going to help people grow through what they go through. I actually have a book that I'm in the process of writing now called, you guessed it, Get Up and Grow.
Right.
Growing through what you go through.
And it's funny because I'm sorry, Tony, I was gonna ask you, any books that you've written, because you have at least 100 books in you.
Listen,
you know.
I'm kind of cheating, right? Because as far as writing the book goes, because in 2020, when everybody's like, I'm going to do 7-day Facebook live challenge, I'm going to do a 10-day challenge. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do 366 days because it was leap year. So I did 366 videos that year.
Wow.
Mostly different content every day. I repeated maybe gratitude and forgiveness a couple of times because I think it's so powerful. Yet I had, 8 to 15 minutes. I have hundreds of videos, thousands of videos at this point. So I'm putting a couple of them together, some of the better lessons that I've learned through my life that can help other people grow through theirs, because I'm a firm believer in this, that your story may be yours, but it is not yours to keep.
Right.
Your story is yours to share, because by sharing your story, not only do you start the healing within yourself, but you help other people start the healing with themselves, and they can hopefully share their story. Because here's the thing, in business, they say that the man at the top of the mountain didn't land there. Well, same thing for life, with a few exceptions. Obviously, some people landed at the top, they were born there. But most of us have to climb to get to that part of the mountain, right? And the reality is, the more arduous and difficult and painful and treacherous the journey, the more important it is for you to tell your story. Because your story of your journey up the mountain may become somebody else's survival guide. Because there's people that are just about to give up on the north face of the mountain, never even knowing that there was a sunny side, not even believing that there's a peak or a plateau with a beautiful vision, because they unfortunately never got there. They're stuck on the side of the mountain. Maybe they're dying there, or they already died.
Yeah.
There's other people that are going through the difficult challenges and those ravines and those dangers that we all face in life, and thinking, how am I going to do this? Well, but maybe by hearing somebody else's story, how they got out of that relationship, or how they were able to maneuver through life, maybe you can help them. And yet there's other people blissfully unaware as they walk towards that mountain, says, I'm going to take you. It's going to be easy as hell.
Yeah, I remember reading one of Tony's books, and he says success leaves clues. He's the first one that I ever heard say that. And you just mentioned it. Somebody might have been there before that can help you along the journey, or that's why they have books. To read their story. Now we got YouTube videos. We got stories all the time on video. So anyway, first of all, Tony, again, thank you so much for being on People on Dating. I don't know what to say, man. I had a great time talking to you, sir, and I definitely want to have you on. And again, I appreciate it.
Yeah, listen, thanks again for having me on. I hope that the content that we spoke about, the things I said, helped somebody and gave somebody a little bit of clarity. And again, just remember to love yourself first.
Yeah.
But remember that it's not just about you. It's about them. And one other thing that I'll say is that a relationship is somewhere you go to give, not to get.
Yes.
Because most people go to relationship to get. You complete me. Bullshit. You got to go into that relationship complete already. Because if you're going to put your happiness, the key to your happiness is somebody else's pocket, you're in trouble. So remember that. Relationships are not 50-50. Divorce is 50-50. Relationships are 100-100. Gotcha. So go in as a place to go to give of yourself, and you will inevitably get what you're looking for.
Listen, I think that's ending it on a high note. Again, Tony, I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you so much.
All right, you got it. Thanks for having me.
Yep, my pleasure. Well, everyone, that was Tony Rodrigues, and you can find them at getupandgrow.com. So that's get up, the letter N, getupandgrow.com. So that's GETUPN as in Nancy, GROW.com. Getupandgrow.com. Tony, thank you so much for being on People on Dating. Really appreciate it. You can find me on peopleondating.com. That's peopleondating.com. Check out our past shows and check out our blog. Also, when you get a chance, please go to Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe, leave a review, tell us how we can make this show better, or tell us about a topic you want us to talk about. You can also find me on Spotify and on Google Podcasts. Anyway, guys, on behalf of People on Dating, I'm Will Morales. Until next time, thanks everybody for listening, and please stay safe. Bye.